Alright, hello. Thought I'd make a quick video about UI and whatnot. This is what my UI is kind of currently looking like. Not too crazy. This is like the party frame. This is like if I focus. But yeah, I figured most people are probably kind of lost for the UIs, and obviously this is like me trying to get pretty similar to the UI that I have on before this patch. So. Yeah, this is kind of what I'm rocking with. I got this bar of freezing. It's got some tick markers for when you would ice lance, and then um, it changes color as well based on whether if you're at like the thermal void or normal threshold. Obviously, I'm playing Frostfire in this point, so I'm not actually going to ice lance unless I have thermal void, so it doesn't really matter. But if you're playing Spell Slinger, it's helpful. So I'm probably gonna fiddle with this a little bit more and everything. And then I have like duration bars for my altar, I have duration bars for this ice cold. And I've really only set up frost at the moment because it's all I've really played, and I'm sure I'll do more over time. And I'm sure some of these need to be centered or not centered, or whatever, equidistant. But yeah, so I was going to show you a little bit of ArcUI if you want to like move stuff on your own, and then also these are just the add-ons that I'm going to be using at the moment. So for the unit frames, these unit frames, that's just unhalted unit frames. They actually pretty much just came like this. That's also what I'm using for my cast bar. So that's convenient. They basically just came like this. I haven't really done much work on them. I haven't really figured out how to change their text to make them nicer. But these are great. Really, really good so far. Any nameplates? I'm using Platinator with Jundy's profile, primarily just because he talked about how it was easier to support it, and so it has like better work with things like your kick coming up in the middle of a enemy cast. On Plater that will flicker, and on Platinator it won't. So I figured, what the heck, why not use Platinator? For my action bars, I actually just didn't even change anything. I didn't delete any of my add-ons when I logged into pre-patch. Probably should have. Probably need to go back and clean out my WTF folder. But yeah, this is literally just my setup from before. I've removed some icons. I'm probably gonna work on condensing it so it's nicer looking and smaller and more compact. But yeah, just bartender, which does not have an export, unfortunately. And for these icons, for the buffs, for my freezing bar, for the altar bar and whatnot, I'm just using ArcUI at the moment, which is just modifying the Blizzard cooldown manager. So, yep, pretty simple, nothing crazy. I'm sure more things will pop up as we get to midnight. Especially, there's gonna be a lot more add-ons. They're big. They're coming up. Like Weak Ores should be out for full midnight. In that case, that might be a great replacement for ArcUI, depending on whatever they decide to do. And of course, Blizzard could roll back some more add-on restrictions and make that better able to do things. Because right now, of course, the really weird thing is um, you can't hide any of your icons outside combat. Like I like to fade out my icons usually when I'm out of combat, and I just can't do that for anything. You literally just have to have like your cooldown manager icons showing always. The ones that you can hide out of combat are actually these bars, so that's why my freezing bar doesn't show up. It's because I'm not in combat. So as soon as I hit something, boom, I get this. Also using this mouse cursor ring, add-on, just only shows up in combat because I had a weak order for that. For me, it helps show when I'm in combat, and then also, it helps me find my cursor. Not that you really need it with Blizzard. I do think we should mention for Blizzard, you want to have the cast it cursor if you want to accurately show up on the cooldown manager. Otherwise, it's not going to show its CD accurately at the moment. And then for pre-patch, you do not want to hold your ray for orb anymore, but that will be a thing we do in actual midnight. So, yep. All right, let's take a look at an example for ArcUI. So let's go in here. Let's just say let's do permafrost lances because I'm kind of interested in doing that. So I'm gonna add permafrost lances as a bar. I'm gonna open ArcUI, and I'm not seeing it for some reason. That's kind of weird. I did bars here. So let's go bars, scroll up. Okay, use permafrost lances. Let's just create this. We're gonna create a duration bar. It doesn't have stacks. You need to set it up. So let me get rid of these freezing. So with these permafrost lances, I'm just gonna say it's a buff because obviously it is a buff. And then I can also do a talent for it. I'll do permafrost lances. And I'll go ahead and start editing it. So I actually do not. I would want it to probably be. I mean, it can be horizontal, I suppose. But yeah, you just click and drag. So basically, that's how I do my, the icons. You just click them and drag them wherever you want. Because technically, this thermal void, this frostfire empowerment, these are all in the buffs category, but I can split them up. I could have them on different levels. Like here, this is icicles, so this is also icicle slash glacial spike. That's also in this buffs category, but because of ArcUI, I can just drag it and move it somewhere. But yeah, if you want to create a bar, this is how you would go about it. And then I would do um, fill. I like the dragonflight fill at the moment, so I do that. I don't want any stack text. This technically doesn't have stacks. I am going to use duration. And then obviously I could add some tick markers. That's how I got these ticks here. And then there's also this background. Where is it? Here. This bar color with thresholds. This is how I did it for changing the color to, if I do this, I could change at 75, it's a different color, at another one, it's a different color. So that's pretty useful for when things are, running out of duration or scaling up in stack value to change the color so it's easier for you to just initially tell. But yeah, and then I would probably also want to show the icon for this just because it's permafrost lances and I want to like know what that is. And then let's increase the height is actually the width in this case, which is kind of weird. But yeah, so I could just do this and that would be available. And that's nice if I want to use that. Of course, this is not very useful information, so I'm probably not gonna leave it right there or keep it at all really because I don't know, I made my icons very big, I think. And before I didn't really have icons tied to the bars, if you remember. Like I just had like Icy Veins and Alter, and they were just colored based on what they were instead of showing, the icon. I'm gonna try with just the icons here. Um, but anyway, that's like a quick kind of tutorial. You can also, if you go here, you can like shift click. So if I wanted to do all my defensives, I can shift click here and then change Alter stuff here, like hide this or add a debuff border or something like that. And that would be good. See, so if I go here and show border, boom. Now all the ones I've selected, I actually have icicles selected, so showing this here. But I would edit all of them. So yeah. Okay. That is, oh, and so for this as well, I obviously don't want to see this all the time because that's really ugly. So open back up. Though you can also right click. So if I just right click this, it'll open my alter time. If I right click this, it goes back to permafrost lances. You have behavior down here. This is something that icons don't have. You click hide out of combat. You can also hit hide when inactive. So I'll primarily just hit hide when inactive. It's not gonna show up. I press this, and now I can see it again. It's obviously not a good position for it, but yeah, that's right. You just go ahead and slam Great Frost. Why not? I don't think like this cast bar is the nicest thing in the world, so it's really weird doing this UI coming from my previous one. But yeah, so nothing crazy really. I promise there's no conspiracy as to why I'm currently on Frostfire. I just was adding some of the Frostfire icons after I did some of this other stuff. So I do need to look into maybe showing it more clearly when it's coming off CD. Like I really need to be casting my orb on CD, of course. So yeah. It's pretty awkward that only Frostfire spells proc Frostfire Empowerment because you'll often end up in this scenario where like I basically just cast Frostfire Bolt and it procs an instant cast Frostfire Bolt. feels a little awkward. But, yeah. Anyway, so that's the UI at the moment. I'll have like the imports for the everything except for bartender, because bartender doesn't have an import. Um, I think unhalted unit frames has an import. I'm not entirely sure, but that'll be in the description if so. But and yeah, thanks for watching.